I've been growing over 200 plants in my home for over a decade now, and I've got a pretty good handle on which ones are a pain in the bum and which ones are pretty much indestructible. So to help you grow your indoor jungle to Insta-worthy levels, I've got 15 houseplants that are impossible to kill. They should most definitely be added to your collection this year. Stay tuned till the end because I've also got 5 that look stunning in the shops that should most definitely be avoided because it's a trap! So what's my criteria for a plant to be lucky enough to find themselves on this list? It's simple. They need to be happy in most light setups, be able to handle neglect as well as a heavy-handed waterer, and not have to be pruned or fertilised to carry on living their best lives. Let's go! I'm a sucker for a jade plant, and you should be too. I've been growing this bad boy for years now and he's never given me any bother. But why not mix up your jade game with this bad boy? This is a golem jade, so cool because of the crooked finger-like leaves he sports. He'll love bright light but can handle lower light, he's not that fussed about when he drinks, and you can more or less leave him to do his thing. Looks cool too. If you've not got a monstera in your collection, then what have you been doing with your life? The world's favourite plant also happens to be a doddle, which is probably why it's so popular. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and can handle pretty much anything we throw at them. The only issue you might find is that in the long run they can get pretty big, but it will take a while to get there, so a problem for much further down the road. I'm a big fan of climbing plants. My intention is to lob an extra long wall shelf above my TV here and have a bunch of them trailing down. I just need to start Operation Convince Mrs. Sheffield and I can start that project, which is easier said than done. Anyway, I've got the Pothos Devil's Ivy in many guises, from this bushy specimen to this climber flexing his muscles in his moss pile, and they're happy enough either way. To truly get the best out of him, giving him something to climb on would make him sing, but I've had this guy for over a year and he's perfectly content too. We all know that a snake plant is dead easy, right? Well, I can't make this list without including one, but let's mix it up with this unusual looking specimen. This is a Star Canyon granite apparently, and he's probably the hardiest plant I've ever had. It just doesn't change. The leaves are like leather, and all he wants to do in life is to sit in the sun. I like him so much that I divided him into little pups a few months ago, and he didn't bat an eyelid. I've never really been much of a fan of this next plant, but I bought one recently and I'm starting to change my mind. I used to have one years ago, but I gave it away to my parents and that one was just as easy as this new one is proving to be. He's stupidly easy to care for and comes in so many varieties you could fill a room with all his brothers and sisters and still not get bored. This is a Dracaena marginata or marginata. He sits there looking fab, doesn't complain when I forget to water him, and even forgives me for the fact I've parked him in this dimly lit spot. Bright light, low light, he doesn't seem to be picky. I water him when the soil's dry, give the leaves a wipe every now and then to keep them nice and glossy, and hopefully he'll happily live forever. This next fella is a classic that brings big glossy vibes to your space without demanding much in return. I've got a Ficus elastica in my living room that I've had for over a decade, and let me tell you, he's a definition of low maintenance. He thrives on occasional watering and a bit of bright indirect light. But you know what I love most? Those thick shiny leaves that look like they've been polished by the plant gods themselves. If you want him to grow tall and majestic, just give him lots of light and some time. If you're short on space, prune him back and he'll stay bushier. Either way, he's happy to oblige. And don't get too stressed if you're forgetful because he is pretty drought tolerant. Just don't go overboard with the watering unless you want to make him grumpy. Peperomia raindrop is like the plant world's version of a cute low maintenance pet. Those chubby, glossy leaves shaped like raindrops. Adorable. And better yet, she's not going to throw a tantrum if you forget about her for a bit. This one's perfect for your desk, shelf, or any little nook that needs a pop of green. She doesn't ask for much, just medium light and a drink when the soil starts to feel dry. I would say that overwatering is her kryptonite, so if in doubt, just go a little longer in between waterings. The barrel cactus is the ultimate set it and forget it plant. Seriously, if you're someone who keeps forgetting to water your plants, then this spiky little guy is a dream come true. He's basically a green bowling ball with attitude, chunky, low maintenance and full of charm. All he needs is a sunny spot to soak up some rays and he's good to go. You could probably go on holiday for a whole month, come back, and he wouldn't even notice you were gone. This plant is used to surviving in deserts, so too much love is actually a bad thing. Give him a spin every now and then to keep his shape, you'll have a happy little cactus that looks cool and barely asks for anything. Alright, let's talk about the teddy bear vine, probably one of the cutest plants out there. She's got these soft, fuzzy leaves that feel like, well, a teddy bear. Plus, she trails beautifully, so she's perfect for hanging baskets or letting it cascade off a shelf. She does like bright indirect light, but she won't throw a tantrum in lower light either. And water when the top of the soil feels dry, but don't let her sit in a puddle. Oh, and if you want her to grow fuller, just give her a little haircut every now and then. Stick them back into the soil and they'll root faster than you can say 3 plants. This little succulent has thick pastel blue leaves with a subtle pearly sheen that practically glow in bright light. It's like having a tiny piece of the moon sitting on your windowsill. Now, like any self-respecting succulent, it's about less is more with the blue moonstone. Bright indirect sunlight or even a bit of direct sun is her jam. The only thing to watch is the watering. Overwatering is the quickest way to send this beauty to the great plant pot in the sky. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can propagate her from her leaves. Just pluck one off, let it dry for a day or two, pop it on some soil, and boom, you've got yourself a baby moonstone. This next one shook me to my very core because when I got him I feared the worst. It was part of my plant unboxing video I did last year, and I just assumed that he'd be just as fussy as the Melanocrysis, but it turns out he's really not. If you're a subscriber, then you'll know all about the new leaf unfurling problems I had with the Melanocrysis, but so far the Philodendron Whipple Way has been absolutely fine. I've put him on this moss pole, but I reckon he'd be happy enough without one. There's not much to say about him really. Bright light and easy on the watering, and he'll be a star. This succulent's got thick rounded leaves that are a lush green with light green variegation and have a subtle, almost waxy texture. Care for the Peperomia obtusifolia is a breeze. He likes bright light but is content to sit in the shade. This isn't a plant that needs constant attention, which is why it's perfect if you're prone to the occasional whoops, I forgot to water moment. I've even got mine straight up in a decorative pot with no drainage holes, so watering couldn't be easier. The obtusifolia is compact, neat, and doesn't mind a little neglect. Just what you need if you want a plant that's both easy and striking. Stick him in a cute pot and watch him thrive with minimal effort. Last year I made a video about the wonderful world of meat-eating plants, so I bought a bunch of them half expecting them to go by the wayside. I've not got a great history with carnivorous plants, you see, I've just not got enough sun to make them happy. So I lost the Venus flytrap pretty much straight away, Kelsapri, and the Pingicula isn't looking so hot, but one plant that really has surprised me is the Nepenthes gaea. If I can keep this guy alive in my climate, then anyone can. I think this is a particularly kind type of Nepenthes, and I would highly recommend getting one. It's always a talking point when people come round. Just look at those devilish traps. Alocasias shouldn't be anywhere near an easy care list, but if I had to pick one that hasn't been too much trouble for me, then I would choose the dragon scale. As with all alocasias, he needs lots of light in winter to stop him going dormant, but once you get the care down, he's actually pretty chill. Stupidly, when I moved into this house, I dropped another plant on top of him, so I did lose a couple of leaves, but he seems to be bouncing back well. We all love a bit of colour in our lives, don't we? So why not brighten up your home with a coleus? Normally these live in the garden of course, but I think they work just as well as a houseplant. And my god, are they rapid growers. Mine might not look like much at the moment, but that's because I gave them a serious haircut so that I can propagate and have more of them in my home. They need 2 things to thrive, sun and a ton of water. So much water in fact that you would do very well to overwater them. They dry out super quick. And the beauty is they show you just how thirsty they are. The leaves will start to go a bit limp, but will bounce back immediately when you give them a drink. Now, it's time to go through the naughty list and give you my top 5 plants to avoid in the shops. If you're a beginner, then don't get the Calathea zebrina. She does look absolutely gorgeous, but it never lasts long. Those leaves start to turn crispy brown in no time. By the way, diagnosing things like crispy brown leaves is made so much easier with my free plant problems troubleshooting handbook. You can get it by having a nosy in the description. If you don't want to suffer a serious breakdown while looking after your plants, then steer clear of the Philodendron melanochrysum, otherwise known as the melanochrysis. New leaves always come out looking a mess and I can't figure out why. There's lots of other philodendrons that are far less bald inducing, trust me. The Brazil, for example. I mentioned that alocasia should be nowhere near an easy care list, and this particular alocasia should be top of the naughty list in my book. The malo is just so hard to grow more than a single leaf at a time. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. He's got to grow light, the right soil, which is kept nice and moist by the way, and humidity is fine, but still one leaf comes in and the other one dies off. It's maddening. For the life of me, I just can't work this guy out. Well, I can actually. Seems to hate winter. Don't we all? The Anthurium clarinervium looks fancy in spring and summer with nice new leaves, but as soon as the temps drop, those nice new leaves turn crispy brown. It's the circle of death and it drives me nuts. If you want a plant to always look rubbish, then look no further than the Chinese money plant. Its natural growth habit is to grow a lanky stem in the middle and lose all its lower leaves in the process. So they're just left with a silly looking stick with some leaves at the top. I've moaned about it plenty of times on the channel, so I'll leave it there, but just don't bother. To see me moan about more plants that I hate, check out this video next, and I'll see you there.